Andrea Sheffield, great to see you.
Very nice to meet you.
Andrea is the owner and director of Wa Lam Kung Fu.
Yes.
Kung Fu. And we are delighted to have you here today on our television show, Empowering Women. And it's fascinating what you do. First of all, you have a wonderful outfit here for your,
Thank you. Thank
for
you
your
very much.
business. And I just wanted to start out by asking you, how did you discover martial arts?
Well, I was already over 30 years old and a wife and mother before I even stepped foot in my first martial arts class. But now, at that time, I found myself at home with a child, and I had been in the health and fitness field for over a decade prior, and I knew I wanted to do something not only to get back into shape, but something for my mind and my soul, not just for my body. So a friend of mine suggested the martial arts, and I also knew that one way for personal growth and development was to try something new, try something outside my comfort zone. The only way that you're going to learn and to grow is to be open to new things. But I really had no experience, no idea what it would be like. And what I discovered was just something that was an incredible personal development and growth activity that I really enjoyed. And I never would have thought that that was something, as a Concord housewife, that would be something that I would enjoy doing.
So, I mean, a lot of people talk about, like, for example, they're runners, and they say, oh, I run because it's great for my body, my cardiac health, my mind, my soul, all those things. So what, had you already been in another activity that you loved and you just, like you said, you needed a change? I guess, what's the benefit of martial arts over some of the more, the other physical activities that are out there?
Well, like I said, I'd been in the health and fitness field for years. That was kind of what I went into out of college.
Yeah.
And I'd never been really an athlete, but I'd been active my whole life. Mm-hmm. And getting to the point of having gotten married and having a child, I felt like I was kind of at a crossroads. I wanted my family to be my priority, but I knew that I couldn't be the best wife and mother without being the best me first. And so I wanted something that was much more holistic in approach. I had tried the running. I had done the aerobics classes. I had done all the exercise bikes. And I was tired of sitting mindlessly on a bike or watching TV on a stair machine or jumping around following someone in aerobics class. I wanted to actually learn something of value that I could take home with me every day and get myself in physically good condition as well. But I wanted the holistic approach. I wanted improvement not just of body, but of mind and of my emotional center, everything that I would need to do what I considered at that time my main job, which was at that time raising a young family.
Mm-hmm. So are there like different types of martial arts? How did you know what to choose? And
well, there are hundreds of styles, and being completely unsure of the whole vast array of what's out there, I looked into a number of different styles. And the first thing that I realized is that you have two main branches of martial arts that you can consider: the internal styles and the external styles. The internal styles encompass the type of practices that we call Qigong, Tai Chi, the kind of slower, softer moving, more meditative approaches, very similar to yoga and some of the other practices that also come from the East. And then the Kung Fu was more like the more exuberant, more active, the external art, the power and the energy is expressed outwards, and that's what makes you sweat. And I wanted a combination of these things, but at my level, at something that I could do. I was coming off of having a baby. He was only 15 months old. And though I had, dropped some of the baby weight, I certainly wasn't in good shape. And a lot of people find the martial arts intimidating in that position. But I thought if I found the right school, the right instructor, with a style that suited me, my body, my mind, and the way I learned, that I could start wherever I was and be able to improve and see if I liked it. I really had no idea until I walked in and took a chance.
So, what would the difference be of Kung Fu to, say, something like hot yoga or power yoga? Those are all also very like high energy, aren't they? Or
yes, there are a lot of similarities, absolutely. And I am a big proponent of yoga. I think it's wonderful. And if you have found that to be your thing, great for you. But for me, I found I needed just a little something extra that the martial arts provided. And that is that there is intention in every movement, because the movement has meaning, unlike dance, gymnastics, yoga, which I had all done before and greatly enjoyed. The martial arts seemed to take it one step further, because the movement that you do in Kung Fu or even in Tai Chi, there is an application, there is an actual meaning to the movement, and you have to be able to move with full intention. By doing that, it integrates the body, the mind, and the breath like no other practice I have ever tried before. So once again, this was taking it a step further for me. It really encompassed a holistic approach to personal development. And that's the way I look at it, not just improving my physical fitness, not just working on my focus and concentration, not just working on calming myself, keeping my emotions in check, or at least being able to work with them. It was all of that and more. It was a truly personal development program.
It sounds very spiritual. It's almost, I mean, someone could say, wow, this sounds like a religion.
A lot of people, again, that's another misconception, that a lot of people feel that they walk into some of these very traditional schools and they feel like, oh, you know, all the bowing and all the gestures of respect look very, very similar to some sort of religious connotation. And there really isn't. The traditional aspects that require students to bow and to perform certain things during the class all has to do with respect. And I found that really helped me feel more comfortable and less intimidated, because the atmosphere of respect was mutual among all the students, not just the students to the teacher. And I think if you go into any atmosphere, any environment where you immediately feel respected, you're able to relax. You're able to focus on what you want to do. So again, I just think it's a misconception, and when people learn what all of this is actually about, they understand that there's no religious connotation whatsoever. However, it can be very, very spiritual for the individual through the practice.
I bet it sounds like that. What do you think for women? How would you encourage women to get into martial arts?
Well, I think what women really need to do is, unfortunately here in the West, we only see a very thin slice, and the media only promotes a very thin slice of what the martial arts can be about. And that is often a real turnoff, to be frank, for a lot of women, because it seems like it's only for the super athlete, or maybe it's just good for young children, or at worst, it's for men who want to learn how to fight. And that is only a very thin slice of what the martial arts can be about. If we look back at the roots of Chinese martial arts, especially Chinese martial arts, we find that it was actually developed by monks at the Shaolin Temple. And what they found, ironically, was that their main purpose was finding a path to enlightenment. But they found, because it's a Buddhist temple, they found by sitting and meditating all day that their bodies were wasting away, that their physical fitness levels were depleting. And they quickly realized that the connection between the mind and the body is not something that catches up with itself, but it happens every single moment of every day, that there is a connection between the mind and the body. And if one is being ignored, it can not affect the other. So they began incorporating these exercises to improve their physical selves, but at the same time knowing that they couldn't do that while also ignoring the mind. So the exercises that they developed were developed with intention, with the mind, with the breath, as part of the physical exercise. And in that sense, it probably became, if not the first, certainly one of the first truly holistic exercise programs that was ever developed. And if we look at its roots, then that is very relevant to today's woman and what she may need as far as improving herself physically, mentally, and emotionally, sustaining herself physically, mentally, and emotionally. Certainly the fundamental fighting nature of the martial arts has proven itself throughout history, but that was never the original focus of these arts. That was a side benefit that was developed. And what's interesting is that the monks that developed Kung Fu developed it for personal development, but then they took it and they used it for the priority that was theirs in their life at that time, which was self-defense, which 4,500 years ago in China, self-defense was a big deal. It was a dangerous environment. But what we can do, what makes it relevant, makes the martial arts relevant today, is that we can take these same practices that improve our physical, mental, and emotional strength and vitality, and we can apply it to our priorities, our major opponents, which today may be disease, stress, lack of vitality, lack of energy, dealing with imbalances of the body, especially as we age for women. All of these things can be addressed by this type of practice and greatly improved. And what's wonderful about it is a proven practice. It's been in existence for thousands of years and has been a proven way to personal development. So in that sense, I think it is very relevant for women today. What really comes down to is finding the right school, the right match of an instructor, more so than the particular style, at least initially. And find that niche, that school that works for you, and start practicing, start expanding your ideas of what it means to improve yourself, and not just lock yourself into, I can only get fit by running, and I can only improve my mind just by sitting and meditating, and I can only get flexible by doing yoga. Try something like this at a reputable school and find the benefits for you. They're amazing. They've been around for a very long time. Very proven activity.
So, and Andrea, you talk about like ancient China. Is there like physical contact with these martial arts? Is there hitting?
With the internal arts, there's much less physical contact just because of the nature of the style. With the external arts, there is some physical contact, but again, the traditional style that I have practiced for the last 17 years and the one that I teach now, the focus is on the development. There is the personal development aspects. Obviously, there is some contact as you work your way up through. The intermediate and advanced level students will have some physical contact, but it's all done in a very safe environment. The first thing, for instance, I ever learned to hit was a focus mitt and a punching bag. And I was taught the proper technique of how to express energy in this way without hurting myself. And we've been conditioned, and understandably so, that hitting anything is bad, right? And certainly hitting each other is bad. But the act of expressing power is essential to the human condition. And it's essential to improving one's strength. And we shouldn't fear it. It just has to be done in the proper environment with the proper intention. Back in the day when it was our physical existence it was required for us to hit the ground to plant. It was required for us to hit the tree for the wood that we needed to heat the house. We didn't think twice about it. And today we hit golf balls and baseballs because in tennis there's a joy in that type of expression of power when it's done in the proper way, when it's not done with the wrong intention. So we have to, again, think outside the box. Learning how to hit something with proper intention and with the right technique creates a sense of empowerment and develops strength both physically and mentally. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. In fact, it's a good thing.
So you mentioned also these integrated classes. How did you come to develop your integrated classes? Have they existed since the opening of your business, or is it something that kind of evolved?
It actually, both in a certain sense. It's this kind of like I was speaking earlier about having the physical and the mental. We tend to departmentalize them. they have to be separate. If we're going to do something for our mind, we're going to do something for our mind. If we're going to do something for our body, we're going to do it for our body. We don't seem in the West to understand that we can do something that really integrates both. So I had my students that love to do Tai Chi and Qigong, which involves the body, but it also involves much more of the meditative approach as far as the mind is concerned. And they have the students that do the external art of Kung Fu, which, again, because the intention is there in the movement, it involves the mind also. But what I wanted to develop was a program that really combined the two, and combined the two at a much more moderate level that would be less intimidating, especially for women, to kind of enter into the martial arts field. So with taking my 17 years of experience in the martial arts and a prior decade of work in the health and fitness field, I did even more homework with my own personal instructor, and I put together an hour-long class, which is now a twice-a-week program called Integrated Wellness. And basically what I've done is taken the best that the East and the West have to offer. I've taken the ancient art of Qigong, which is the easiest form of, Tai Chi is actually a form of Qigong. Qigong is much easier than Tai Chi because there's less complicated moves to memorize, to have to be able to follow in sequence. It's very easy to follow an instructor. You can literally learn it in 60 seconds, some of the different exercises. It's very simple, but very powerful. The challenge in these exercises is the focus and the concentration with the intention and the breath and the movement. And that way, very similar to yoga. Okay. So the first half of the class is all Qigong exercises for health, vitality, and stress reduction. Second half of the class, I've incorporated the best from the West, which is the latest in modified core strengthening exercises. And these types of exercises are really important as we get older. The core strengthening helps with balance and stabilization. Not only your overall balance, but joint balance, joint strength. And this is crucial for people as they get older, women especially, but really for anyone. So the class really is excellent for women 40 and older, but it can really be great and modified for anybody at any age, male or female.
So could you, not to put you on the spot here, Andrea, but could you demonstrate something that like you could teach us here today that would kind of integrate the physical,
very easy exercise, even one that you can do seated.
Okay.
Most of these exercises are done standing or with gentle movement, but even for people who have trouble standing, that need to be seated, we're actually a little high. We'd want our feet flat on the floor, but we can pretend for today. Okay, so you would be sitting nice and tall and feeling really rooted to your chair, feet firmly on the floor, grounding to the earth, taking the right hand right across what the Chinese call the dantian, which is your true center. It's about 2 inches or so below the navel, about 2 inches into the body. It's your true physical center. And if we put our hands there and start with just some intentional abdominal breathing, you imagine that the breath can go all the way down into the abdomen, filling the dantian with energy, and then just follow it as it slowly, easily escapes back out. I always start with this energy-producing exercise, connecting us to the dantian, and then we go right into the exercises from this point. And following our breath, drawing a deep breath in, we simply raise the arms up as if expanding, inhaling all the way up. And as we exhale, allow the arms to float down from the sides, following our breath all the way down. As we inhale, reverse the movement, arms coming up from the side, leading with the fingertips as if scooping up the breath. Exhaling, and the arms float all the way down. We'll do it one more time. Inhale, following the breath, allowing your breath to lead your movement instead of forcing the breath to follow the arms. And once again, only as you begin to inhale, reverse the movement. And as you begin to exhale, following the breath, the arms float down. So initially the exercise doesn't look like much. Arms come out, arms come over. But what's really interesting is the intention. If you follow the breath, you'll find immediately that your mind wants to revert to making your breath be a slave to your movement, because this is the way we operate all day long. Our breath is secondary to our movement. We're doers, we're constantly doing, and our breath gets pushed to the back of the bus. Sometimes we ignore it completely and don't even bother to breathe at all. So by doing these Qigong exercises, we're taking that and flipping it on its head. Instead, we breathe first. The breath is in charge. The breath leads what we're doing. And that way, we're connecting, integrating the breath, the mind, and the body. And the body has to follow the breath. The body has to follow the mind. And it actually reverses a mode of operation that we have adapted here in the West to an extreme that now has become detrimental. There are times when we need to do that. The fight or flight instinct is a perfect example of that. But the reason why people are so stressed out these days and operating at such a high stress level is that we seem to be in a constant fight or flight state where our doing and doing and doing is taking precedent over everything else, including our breath. And we breathe much more shallowly, much more shallow, and it starts to affect our physical well-being. If you stay in a fight or flight state for a long enough period of time, it's been scientifically proven that it actually wears the cells of the body down. So it actually ages the body faster. Doing these types of practices, which helps our mind and our body get back to a state of relaxation, a state that we should be in the majority of the time, where we're in touch with our breath, where our body and mind are working together instead of fighting against one another. That's what's going to help improve overall health, overall focus, concentration, holistically, all areas of fitness.
Andrea, it is fascinating, and it's certainly something everyone could benefit from. I mean, I think about all the anxiety and depression and just emotional traumas that are out there, and things that I see every day in my practice too, and everyone could benefit from that.
They truly could, and this is the thing that I'm trying to get out there for people to understand, is that because the martial arts unfortunately still have such almost a stigma of being a very, 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 very thin slice of what it's all about, that the media promotes it in such a way that it's not accessible to the average person. The average woman especially would think, oh, I can't do that. Or why would I want to do that? I don't want to fight anybody. I don't want to learn how to hit. And I would have felt the same way until I actually learned more about what the arts really and truly are about, and the benefits that are just there waiting for people to tap into.
Right, right. Well, thank you very much for being with us and sharing your passion.
Thank you very much for having me.
It sounds like a beautiful practice.
Thank you.